Okay, we will call the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee meeting for March 10th already. Holy cow. To order. Roll call, please.
Tracy Flukie.
Here.
Dale Schmitz.
Here.
Sharon Cowles. Sue Krieger.
Here.
We got a delay, I think.
All right, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United
to the
States of
republic
America,
for which it
to the republic
one
for which it
nation,
stands,
under God,
one
indivisible,
nation,
liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice.
Okay, before we go to the action on agenda, I was just wanting, Sue, I'm sorry I didn't have you introduce yourself at our last meeting, and everything was kind of discombobulated at the beginning. So if we can get you to introduce yourself quick, and maybe if this is not going well, we'll do it when you're actually here. No,
We see her now.
oh,
Hi, I'm back.
She better hear you.
oh. So would you mind just introduce yourself on why you want to be on the Bike and Ped Committee and kind of what you do bike and ped related, or just to give us an idea?
She's frozen.
No. Okay.
She knows how to ignore that.
I know.
Good.
We'll get her
Good,
to
Sue.
actually here. All right. So we'll go for action on the agenda then. Anyone have anything you want to change? Otherwise, motion to approve the agenda.
I read it. I'm gonna motion to approve it.
Any motion by Dale? Is it
Thank you,
all right
Sharon.
with her being frozen? Can we do this meeting if she can't participate? We don't
She
have a
was
quorum.
here, so I think
She's back.
having some
She's back.
technical challenges, so
She's back.
Kinda. Her mic is off though.
yeah, Sue, you're muted right now. I'm not. You got. There you go.
There you go.
Not yet. We can't hear you just yet. We can hear you. We can see your lips moving, and we could try to get a lip reader in, but
Modern technology.
So do we have enough for a quorum is my
we
question.
have a quorum present. I don't know that anything necessarily requires formal action per se today, so you can continue to meet because you have a quorum present.
Okay.
Sign language.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda, then I need a second for that.
Sharon second.
Sharon, okay, thank you, Sharon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, okay, motion carried. Action on the minutes from, what day is that from? That's from
February
February 10th, got it, sorry.
March repeats.
2025. Any corrections, changes on the minutes?
So it looks like it is. I read them. I'm gonna motion to approve them.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay, motion carried, thank you. All right, 6A, consider, discuss, act on items related to the pedestrian and bicycle comprehensive plan survey. And Devin is here from County, thank you for coming, Devin. We talked about this at our last meeting, and Devin was to come back and at least look at the survey, and I know you gave us a copy of it. Yeah, to look at it, if you've had a chance to go out and take a look at it. So take it away.
Sure.
I got it on the screen.
Okay.
I'm doing pretty good
Hand
job.
job there.
Yeah, I'll get it wrong.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, so I put together questions and we kind of started with what we kind of used for some other plans, and then gave that to Rex and got his feedback on it. And then
For whatever that's worth.
yeah, so we tweaked it a little bit. I know Brian had also looked at it, I think, after we talked and said it looked good, or that was all he said. But so yeah, this is kind of what you see when you start. Obviously, once we're all set, I'll put in a date for how long it'll be open, which I think usually we do, about a month. And most of the feedback comes after announcements go out. So, there's usually like spikes that coincide with when it's been announced and displayed through whatever channels. And that's usually how we do it. So how this is set up is, initially when you see it, it just looks like there's 2 questions, but then depending on how you answer for the first one is kind of what you'll get for everything else. And so there's questions related to if you walk, and then questions related to if you bike in Ashwaubenon, and then if you hit both, that'll give you like all of them, and then you can answer all those. And then if you do neither, you don't get any of them, and then you can just provide that feedback at the end with that last question. So that's how that works.
So would you like us to check off something so you can?
Yeah, maybe just hit both.
So was this live when you sent it to us?
So
Well, yes. So it's,
When I've had to check that, because I looked at it and I'm like, okay, two questions,
Yeah.
2 pages.
yeah,
If I
well,
would have checked that, would it give me the additional questions?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and that's
Okay.
kind of the challenge of doing it this way is if people just look at it, it looks like there's not much there, so you have to interact with it.
can I ask a question before we go too far into it? But
Uh-huh.
do you want comments as we're going through, or do you want to wait till the end, or what are your thoughts on it? Because there are a couple of things early on that I saw that I wanted to mention, but whatever way you want to do it, if that was easier for you.
Maybe, well, I guess I could maybe just talk real quickly.
Do the
Kind
whole
of
thing? Sure.
Yeah, and then we
Sure.
can do specifics. So the first one, and this corresponds for both items, is kind of a frequency and different things. And again, this is just to kind of get an idea of how people walk or bike in the village. There's the caveat, which I thought about putting in, but didn't, is for some people it might be year round, for some people it might be 6 months, but I don't, kind of making people self-define that. I think I'm just kind of leaving it up to them at that point. I mean, I could get more specific, but I think, for sure you can assume during the warmer months, that's, how people are answering. And yeah, so then, just reading this one. Yeah, this one's kind of a ranking question. So how you select, you're basically needing to choose kind of a ranking level, and that's really just to better determine what people's priorities might be. So, you click on it and it automatically, first thing you click on gives you your top choice, and then you can shuffle things around as you see fit. So just by dragging and dropping. There's a reset button below. So if you want to just start all over, you can do that. And again, these are just kind of general categories. If there's something else that we could add, we can do that, but kind of trying to keep it high level. If you can scroll down.
So Joel, the way you did that, if you don't mind, you clicked on, there's like 3 little
Yeah.
things on the side, because I tried to do that when I was doing it and I could not get it to move. So then what did you do? Hit it and then go to the rest, one of the ones to
But-
move up.
Yeah, you should be able to actually click anywhere on kind of that bar
Okay.
and drag it.
Yeah, mine wouldn't go,
You have
but
to
I
hold-
would say you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
It just
hold
wouldn't go
the
up.
key down, or hold the left button down,
Okay,
and then drag it.
okay, because I was thinking maybe it wasn't gonna do that now, because it was just kind of a sample one, but okay.
Yeah, and I should say, the other trick with this is it's like I'm doing it on the computer, and there's a way to see how it looks on tablets and phones. But I guess the way I'm testing it is on the computer, so there might be
Difference,
something
yeah.
that I'm not getting from doing that too.
Okay.
But that's how that works.
Okay.
And then just, for the sake of prioritizing and again, kind of highlighting the main things, this one's kind of a barrier question, but it's just one item only that you get to pick. Obviously there might be more things than just the one, but again,
This is one that I talked with Devin about because they're all barriers, right?
Mhm,
So,
right.
So we know they're all barriers. So if we didn't rank them or have a priority, then everyone's just gonna check everything, because we know they're all barriers. So it's like, what's the most important thing that's out there? And that kind of would be able to help the village focus on project-wise, or, and put an emphasis on what is the barrier that is the biggest challenge to overcome. We'll start to tackle those and then kind of move on as time progresses. So that's one of the things that I suggested to Devin, just in terms of, if you just list them all and don't have them ranked at all, then people are going to check all of them, because they're all barriers, right?
Right. Yeah.
When I was
But it
thinking,
doesn't do us any good to know that, because we already know they're barriers.
Right.
What's the importance of them?
when I was thinking with this one, because I'm looking at it, like you said, every one of them's a barrier. Maybe instead of just your top one, it's the top 3 or the top 2 or something. Then you're getting a little more feedback on, and you can rank it and say, this many for number 1, this number 2. Then people maybe can pick a little easier rather than just that one. Because I was like, oh, yeah.
We're getting so many options.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I make a point? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I put on my phone because then I'm just on 5G instead of using the internet. When I see this, if you're not reading the second line, select the choice that poses the biggest barrier for you. I'm afraid people just check a whole bunch of them.
Will it let you do that?
No. So the way it's set up, though, it now only lets you select one thing.
Oh, it does. Okay.
I can obviously, and that's one of the limitations of this program. This is a single choice question. I can make it multiple choice, but then with that, I don't think there's a way to limit it to 1 or 2 things. It's upon one's honor to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it could be a ranking, but I could make it a ranking question too. That's certainly, something that we could do also if that.
If you hit other on this, then can you put comments in, or is it just other?
No,
like,
this one I believe.
Not listed.
I think, Joel, if you wouldn't mind hitting that, let's just see. And then scroll down. Maybe it doesn't. Yeah. Okay. So some of them on the other option, it actually lets you put something in. Currently on this one, it does not.
I think I would take other off if you can't make any comments on it. Then it's kind of a useless information.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what does the group think? Would you still want to have a single, what's your most important barrier, or do you think it's better to have a ranking?
I just think singles is, I don't know. I'd rather see either a ranking or, like you said, if you could do 2 or 3 or something.
How difficult would it be to do?
Oh, it's
Similar to
yeah. It's not, none of the changes will take a whole lot of time. So that I wouldn't worry about.
I would propose that we have the ranking, because you're sending out the survey, the more information you can obtain,
Right.
the better off you're going to be able to make decisions on what really is a priority.
Yeah.
So if they rank it, is there a spot to say why they're ranking it?
No, I mean, I could.
You know what I mean? Because you're going to want to know why are you ranking it like that?
Yeah.
Or they want to voice their opinion.
I don't know if you're going to get that much information when you try to do a survey for somebody to
Yeah.
respond like that. You will have a difficult time just getting them to respond to the survey, is my thinking.
Are you gonna know where the people are from when they're answering this survey? Because if you say too much high speed or heavy traffic, well, that's nice. Where do they live? Or lack of sidewalks, paths, and or trails. Okay, but where are you from? Where are you in Ashwaubenon? Some of these questions, I think, are, again, what are you going to do with the information if you don't know where they're living or where they're talking about, where they're walking or biking this is bothering them? Again, I don't know what this information is going to do for you.
Aspect of this?
Yeah. So there's a way to also add that info in the art. Well, yeah, there's a mapping application too that will be included that people could point to specific areas. Currently, this isn't set up to see anyone's, where they're
Specific
taking it
addresses.
from.
Right.
There is that option too, but I know also not everyone wants to provide that, which makes sense. But yeah.
I think what you're trying to
It's an
gather
overall
with this is
feeling.
kind of what are the overall issues
Right.
that we're seeing in the community?
Perception.
And then the mapping exercise gets to those point-specific
Yes.
areas to say, okay, well, this railroad crossing is awful,
Yes,
or we need to see a connection for a sidewalk here.
yes.
So that's where you get the geographic aspect of that.
This is more, in my opinion, more this perception that people have and maybe some of the barriers that your question is anyway, of why it's difficult for them to bike or walk in the community. These are things that they like a street light on it, and not necessarily it's here, but I'm afraid to go out because there's no lights,
But again, don't you want to know where they live in order to make the fixes, if possible? I mean, Ashwaubenon's a big village to just say, well, we need sidewalks in a bunch of places, or we need more lighting. Don't we want to know where where people are concerned?
They'll get that, Sue, in the mapping part of it, so then you can go in and pinpoint from your road and say there's a lack of a sidewalk somewhere in one section or whatever, and you could put it in there. So this, you wouldn't have it here, but on the mapping part of it, you would, Sue, because when you get to the end of this, that will be a part of it.
Does it show where we live?
Pardon?
Will it say where we live?
No,
No.
Okay.
you're just putting points and then you can
We
explain
could
that.
theoretically add a form
Area.
field in the survey that allows for people to put the address or street in which they live if we
If they
wanted
want
to.
Yeah,
Add
even-
like a more general question of what street do you live on, or voluntarily provide your address, we can certainly do that.
And I think that kind of up to what you all think, if that's something you want to collect, like, not the locations, but like place of residence or street that you live on. Yeah, that sort of thing. I'm gonna scroll down. Yeah, so this is another ranking question, which, maybe it makes sense to do them all. Again, just general items of things that would be most helpful for improving, again, walkability or bikeability. And again, those are just kind of general things, we obviously could add others too, but those are usually kind of what the issues are.
And then you have a place for
That question, is more of looking for specific places or even just like a type of place, like parks, that sort of thing. And again, just another way to gather that info. And then if you go down, the biking questions are basically, they're also the same questions. A couple of the answers are a little different just because the two are different in a couple ways. If you want to scroll down, Joel. So these are all this section is the same here. And then keep going. These are also the same. Keep going. And then this one I think is, it's a little different because it includes bike lanes, where obviously that wouldn't apply to walking. Keep going. And then, the ranking one, again, mostly the same. A couple things that, again, are more related to bikes or where you would bike, or bike-related facilities. Keep going. And then, same question, that couple of places that you could note. And then final question that everyone would get, and this is even if you ask for, or if you say you do neither, what opportunities, and it's a free form answer, so you can type away on that and, give like a paragraph or up to a paragraph of.
So that means 600 characters there?
Yep. Yeah, and then that one, we would have like the full answer at the end. And usually I would also review those and try and at least categorize things, just to kind of identify the themes that come out of that question. But we'd have the full answer available. We usually include that in the plan at the end, so all the info is there. So that's that, and then the link. Well,
Before
oh
we-
yeah, once you hit submit, then it
Goes
takes
to
you
the
to
map.
like a kind of a closing thing, and then you don't need to hit submit now. But then there's a link there that you could go to the map. So that's the overview of it, and then I guess yeah, we want to talk more specific questions or anything on these.
Joel, can you go way back to the very top again?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. The only thing I'm sorry, this is picky stuff, but up over Ashwaubenon, where it says, to help update the pedestrian bicycle plan, can we capitalize that maybe? Because that's important that we're saying this is what we're collecting information for. Like, this is just pedestrian and bicycle plan, lowercase.
Well, it is more, if I would be referring to the exact title, then I would
Exact.
capitalize it. It's more just the plan.
Okay. Okay, then the other question I have is on electric bikes and scooters. If we want to put anything in this, because that's been a big discussion in our committee about the electric bikes and scooters. And, you know, we have bikes in there, but is there any value to getting that information and the scooters information, like how they're moving through the community? In some ways, I think there is, but I don't know. What do you guys think on that?
There is, that'd be good, how do you capture it? Be nice to know how many people have scooters.
What would we do with that information?
Just to know how people are moving through, I mean, how their micromobility and how they're moving through, and maybe if there's a lot of scooters. I mean, I don't know, I just was thinking about, just because we had a lot of discussion on it at our meetings about those other forms of micromobility, so. Don't think it's important, then we won't put it in, but it's just something that I thought about.
Call for a vote.
Any other thoughts on e-bikes and scooters?
Has anybody ever from the surrounding area just had a question like, do you have an electric bike? Do you have a scooter?
We haven't done that, but it's, it's only kind of increased in the time that I've been doing it. So, I think that's, each time there's more.
You're at it.
But we haven't thus far gathered that. Not to say that we couldn't. Yeah.
There's maybe just a yes or no question, probably easy to.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Have
certainly.
you ever used an electric bike or scooter to
We just give you a general idea.
transport
There's
yourself within?
people out there.
Right. Right,
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to overwhelm people because I'm one of those people
No.
with surveys. This is nice and condensed.
Yep.
If you make it long,
no,
they're going to click off and say, I'm
I
done.
totally get it, I'm just
Yep.
thinking we
Yep.
spend a lot of time talking about it, so I didn't know if it was something we wanted to get, if there's any value. If you don't feel there is, that's fine, so I don't care, either way.
I don't think I'd put it in, because I think if anything, you might make people either, why do you care? Or because if you just ask the question, what for? People might think you're against them, or I don't know. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know what you're going to do with it. People are going to keep buying e-bikes and probably scooters because it's just a faster mode of transportation and you can't stop it. So why ask it?
That's fine. Anything else
Extend
on
on
the,
the question.
yeah, forget the question. Any other comments on it, Sharon, Sue, Dale, anything else you want to add? And one thing on the map, and go to the map,
Sure.
going up to the map.
Well, I guess before you do, so
Okay.
should I change those where it was select the one thing, should I change those to a
To ranking?
ranking? Or
Yeah, the
or
one that said
say
the
it-
biggest barrier.
select your top 3.
Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I would rank them.
I would too, as long as
So
we're
keep it
gathering the information.
consistent with the
Yeah.
other ones, okay. All right. so
You
can
give
you
us some
change-
numbers.
I think
Yeah.
it gives us more information.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So rank those, the ones that are biggest barriers now, rank those, like the other ones are ranked. Okay,
I
anything
guess,
else?
yeah,
that you like?
anything in terms of options or answers that I'm missing, and again, generally speaking, obviously there's going to be there might be specific things that come up, but
That looked good. I don't know. I didn't
Yeah,
anything else
I do
that,
too.
for what you had on there. That looked good. Sharon, anything you saw that should be added or anything?
Yeah.
All right, so any other comments or suggestions on that? Otherwise, Devin, want to go to the map part of it?
yes. And I don't know if you want to navigate to it or if you want me to.
Did you send a link?
I didn't.
When I
It
went
might be.
out to it out there, you had to have a password and username to get in. I'm assuming when it's out on, that you won't need that.
Yeah, that
What's the?
I might have to. What's
That was just a sample, so
Can I try
Turn off all
for a second? Or I might need to adjust that if it's not.
yes, this is what came up on mine.
Okay,
when I went
yeah,
to the
then
link.
I think I just haven't made that fully.
Okay, and that's what I kind of
Public,
thought. You
yeah.
probably didn't do it yet.
Yeah, and that I was still working on that
Okay.
Friday. Sure. Yeah, I'll update that so that's.
So there was any, okay.
Inquiring minds.
I'll take it back to the
Yeah,
start.
that's fine. Now that I'm there, you can.
So maybe you can just explain the mapping portion, just to,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry, I thought you couldn't find it.
As soon as- Oh,
Okay.
Okay, so when you navigate from the survey, and then this is also, you wouldn't have to do the survey to do this. There will be a separate link that can also be shared just to go straight here. So there's a little, it's called the splash page, where it's just a little introduction to the main with general info about it. You can hit OK on that. And then there's instructions in that little window there. This is one of those things where it's taken years to refine, and it's kind of about as short as it can be, but still not short enough. But to give enough instruction on what you need to do, it has to be this long. But that will explain how this works. But really what you end up doing, if you click, Joel, so the two little squares go down, there's the sign, it's kind of small, but yeah, click on that. So that is where you can add points or segments. I should say too, so the window on the pane on the right, the legend has kind of shows the different things as they are mapped currently. And then I debated about what kind of base map to have, but ended up going with the aerial image, just because people might be able to reference things better. The caveat, of course, with this is it's a 23 aerial image, so depending on where you're looking, and especially here, there are going to be things that exist now that don't exist there, and might appear like it's out of date, but that's kind of the most up-to-date thing that we have. Otherwise, I could use a basic base map, but you wouldn't necessarily see kind of what's on the ground. But kind of with all that said, you can zoom in. I don't know if you want to just like pan somewhere and zoom in. And then say you want to say something about, that street. You can click on that So the point that says new feature, if you click on that and then just go and it says to add a point, hit that. So there is the comment box where you can type whatever you want. Yep. And then there's also below that, this is a little drop down menu with, again, kind of general options that, might cover most possible comments. And you can choose from that. So you can either comment, you can do either one or both. Like it doesn't matter. And sometimes people won't do either. There will just be a point.
Yeah.
That's when I have to maybe interpret what that means, or if it's not obvious, I might not be able to do anything with it. So adding anything will help. And then if you say, no, I don't like it, what I did, hit delete. Otherwise, you just hit close, and that point that'll be entered. The way this is set up too, and it's explained in the instructions, is that after you enter these things, you'll see it for a little bit on the screen, and then it's going to disappear. And the reason it does that is more because if I leave it kind of active, and it's not the right word, but if I leave it so stuff stays up, then everybody's stuff comes up. And while that is interesting, I just want people to enter things as they see them and not based on what other people do. We're trying to gather everything. And so it'll disappear. There's kind of a brief time limit set. So you'll see something up there for a minute and then it's going to go away. But that doesn't mean it vanished. It just is no longer visible, but it's been collected. So yeah, you can do, again, kind of what you did. And then you just hit close and that'll be entered. The other thing kind of about this is that, if you do this and then you want to say, come back later and do it again, you can. There's no limit on how many times people can do it. But again, things that you entered previously won't be visible. So that's just kind of the thing to keep in mind.
No ballot stuffing.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, can you complete the survey without having to do this?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm going to tell you, there's people that are not going to do this.
Yeah.
There's no way.
So currently no, but we could create, I could do it so that we do have a paper survey, and then, you could.
If you wanted to email the paper survey, we'd be happy to have them out in our information or access to the community center.
Yeah, and
they could turn them in there as well.
What I would do with that is basically create it so then I could essentially take that and just punch it into that survey. So then
That's typically what we
gathered.
do.
Yeah.
We do
So yeah, the paper survey is an option, and I can put that together.
We do that a lot for our playground voting.
Okay.
As well for people that aren't comfortable doing it online.
and then I sit there and enter it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the bad part. You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, so that I can do that and no issues doing that. And if you would like to have that be a part, then we'll do that.
Yeah, good idea.
It's a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Some people won't.
Yep. Yeah, no, and it totally makes sense. Yeah, this one's a little bit, the analog version would be printing out maps and putting Post-it notes on, which, again, is if you have maybe a place where people might want to do something like that, we could do that. But at least in the past, just kind of kept it to this.
I would say that if somebody feels they're pretty serious about letting you know what's going on.
Do you get a lot on the other ones that you've done? You get a lot of people that will do this, Devin?
So we pretty much always got more surveys.
Okay.
Usually this is less.
Okay.
And, I think the survey is easier and more intuitive. And again, it's one of the occupational hazards of this is it's I spend all day doing this, so it's just kind of I don't even think about it. But and again, trying to make it as user friendly as possible, but it's kind of about as simple as I can make it. So.
But the survey itself allows you to get some specifics in there as well in the
Absolutely, yes,
questions.
on those
So
questions,
it's not if you didn't have that, I'd be
Yeah.
pretty concerned not
Yeah.
being able to
Yeah,
know
you
their
mentioned it.
demographics
Yep.
of what we're dealing with.
Yep.
But I like it. I just-
Yeah.
As long as we get people to respond, I think we'll get a lot of information.
Yeah, so that's how that works, and I don't know if you all, anyone has other questions on this or not, and all the things that are mapped are based off of, well, both what we have in our data and then, Rex and I went through existing things and projects that have been done, so I've tried to update our data so it's believed to be as accurate as possible. There could always be something that's still out of date, but I think we've got everything for the moment, or for projects that have been done.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any other questions or survey on the mapping, any part of it? Devin, anything else to add? Otherwise, when do you
No,
think you'd have this out? Timeline set or?
No, I mean, I think I'd be pretty comfortable in saying that I could make these changes and have things all put together like by the end of the week. And then really at that point is just, when you all or when staff, when it works to push things out or.
When do you want to have results in by?
Let's see here. So
We have a timeline.
it is March 10th.
We have a timeline.
We did have a timeline. Matt.
Yeah.
So this is pretty-
I kind of said. Yeah, so I mean, for now I have down, well, kind of March through May. We don't need to have it available that long. I would probably say at least I'm just looking at if you went through, if you wanted to go to the end of April, that would be good. Like 6 weeks or about, we could do that. The time part doesn't really matter too much to me beyond kind of falling in that window. And then really it's just almost like how many times you want to push it out with announcements or.
How is that gonna happen? How are you gonna notify the public
Yeah,
that
so
the survey's available?
yeah, what we've done is, either weekly announcements or if there's monthly announcements, either by the village or if it's by the Parks Department, including that and putting it out there. That's kind of the main way. If you want to post it on again, the website, or if you have a landing page that people go to a lot for things, having it available there.
Well, what do you think about if we, I don't think the school district would have an issue with it. What do you think about putting in the weekly Wednesdays, which is the normal announcement, like the weekly announcement packet, and just put a page in there of blurbs, for those parents that have kids saying, hey, we need your help. If you have time or have a chance, please go online and fill this out. It will take you 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think, as long as the school doesn't have any concerns with adding it, which I don't suspect that they would do that. I would just time it to whatever posting we're gonna have. We do a monthly newsletter with the village that has a decent amount of subscribers, so I would tie it into the next monthly newsletter, which goes out the first of the month.
Okay.
And then we can target social media, and then if it's, scheduled around that same weekly newsletter that the school has, or, within that time frame of when we receive survey data. So we're gonna send out, let's say, our next newsletter on or around April 1st. So it could be March 31st, it could be April 2nd, but just assume one of those 3 days that our monthly newsletter would go out. And then if we have the survey open for whatever you want to say, 3 weeks, we can target social media and other information, and then one of those weekly newsletters that the school puts out. And then, if you want it open for 3 weeks through the month of April, that would be fine.
So we're going to take a step back on the survey. Were we going to add in the line asking them what street they live on? So we have that info in general, or not really?
It's up
We
to the
didn't,
group. I mean,
we
didn't
brought it up,
decide
but I don't know
that.
if we finalized that, but I don't see a need for it, but what do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea.
Put something in there optional.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, I would just put it at the end, yeah, optional, like,
I don't think I need an address, just put a street, that way
Street,
someone
yeah.
doesn't feel like
Yeah,
they're being
right, yeah.
singled out or.
The only thing I would add to that, so yeah, just optional, you could do name, street, address, the street could be there. I would even indicate, if they wanted to, again, optional. I've seen it a lot in surveys now where you check a box where you indicate I want to be contacted about my survey.
Yep.
That gives us an opportunity to, if somebody's really upset about something, we can contact them outside of the survey and we'll find out that their issue isn't anything related to bike and ped, but it's more because their garbage cart lost a wheel and they needed service. So it's just,
Yeah, so I guess if we do that, then I probably want to add an email. Well, or maybe that's the question is, if you want to be contacted, please put
check
your,
the spot.
put your email.
So the timing of the survey is gonna be like in the next 6 weeks? Is that the goal? Is that,
Yeah, I mean, really,
do you feel that there's already, with their draft coming through, that people may not respond?
For him to put it together this year, that's when it has to be done.
Okay,
well, honestly,
Pretty much.
the input really comes every time the message gets
okay.
blasted out. And so it's like, the more times that happens, the more you get. It's almost, the duration, actually, I would say matters less than the amount of messaging that goes out.
Reminders.
Yeah.
Can I make one other comment on when the survey, this is just a thought I'm having. I'm in Florida, the weather's beautiful, people are out biking and walking and all that. I don't know, I know the weather in Green Bay right today is nice, but do you think you're better? Do you think you're better off to do it when people have done a lot of walking and biking as opposed to, I don't know how, you know what I'm saying, is fresher in their mind walking and biking weather as opposed to doing it when it's too cold for people to go outside? I don't know.
I know people sometimes get psyched for it too,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
what I
it
was
starts
thinking.
getting nice,
Timing,
and it's
right.
like, oh man, I can get on my bike soon, or I can walk soon, because the weather's getting better, so they might be thinking about it at this
Well,
time
I mean,
too.
you could say, if we went into May, because then you'd have like another beginning of the month kind of thing, and usually by then there should be consistently good weather.
What's the
Yeah.
worst case scenario for you to be able to do it through a
Well-
week from using this?
Yeah, no, I think there is plenty of time. Yeah, and I mean, you could extend it into May, I think, without any significant issue. Yeah, I don't think that would be,
So mid-May?
yeah, you could do,
Maybe what I would suggest then, because I think Sharon, you're right, we're gonna have a lot of communication.
Sure,
coming
right,
out starting April 1st, so
Yeah,
if we
it's gonna
did,
be
if we
overwhelming,
posted the
They're not gonna-
survey, yeah, people, it might get lost in some of the
because they're worried about where they
communication
can walk now, not pleasure, not their walk, their
Right.
regular walk. They're worried about how they're maneuvering around the city.
Yeah, and what streets are closed.
Yeah.
It could be lost in translation if we do it during.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. People might be ticked off if you do it during the draft, give you bad results. Maybe you are better off to do it after the draft, because I'm sure there'd be a lot of people mad about walking and biking during the draft.
Yeah.
So you reserve-
I know, yeah.
well, and I mean, that, we could do, I think it would be doable if you said like May through like second week in June, that wouldn't necessarily put things up, because, there's still other things that I can work on in the meantime, it's not all, this obviously helps and will inform things, but, there's still other things that can be done
I think we should
aside
wait
from
till
this.
after. the draft. That's my opinion.
So if
My
we do,
interest.
if we do May 1st or around that time, that'll be the newsletter. We can put together a social campaign that targets some key posts. School's still in session, so we can still get it in there. It's before school gets out. We have better weather, so people will be more actively outdoors. So, yeah, I think if that's agreeable to the committee, then that's what we're going to shoot for.
Yeah, and what,
As long as.
There are a lot of
Devin can
people
work
that are
with
gone too, that
Right,
like that
so-
as well.
you know, you could do something, say, like start May 1st or whatever, and then I would say, you know, go through like, maybe like June 6th or June 13th, just to kind of,
You tell us what date you want.
Do you think that duration is too long though? I mean, if
Um,
we just did 2 or 3 weeks. would be-
well, I get the one thing, so in some ways it kind of is, but I guess it, you know, if you had like it covered the beginning of 2 months, you get that additional. Sure. That's again where a lot of stuff happens. But again, you know, too, if you have your dedicated folks who all do it the first time around, and then, you know, there aren't, say, stragglers, you know, left, you know, maybe it's not as essential, or, you know, maybe then it could just be May.
I would say it depends on how many times you can get a reminder out there within that 6 weeks versus,
Yeah,
if you only put it out once,
And I would say as a parent, by June, I don't know, Nick, do you agree? I'm not looking at the weekly
Right.
Wednesday anymore. Maybe the first week in May, sure, you have my attention still. Yeah. But I mean, by that point, that window is lost already. Those first couple weeks in May, if we hit like that weekly, that for sure, I mean, just saying that. For sure that.
So it sounds like, Devin, you're fine if we go like May 1st through June 13th.
yeah, and if we went after, if you want, you know, we could go through even, I don't know, June 6th or
I
May.
wouldn't go any-
13.
I wouldn't go any longer than 13.
Okay.
Say
Yeah.
13.
Maybe just, yeah, maybe just go through the 13th and
Yep.
get what you get, and, you know, people are gonna still be wound up about the,
Really
Draft.
want to hit that June posting for newsletter, you go June 2nd, because we'll send out the newsletter June 1, and that one day, this is your last chance.
Yeah,
You got 24 hours to fill this form out.
or let's say, like June 4th, then you, or June 6th, and then.
okay, June 6th?
Yeah, just
Okay.
to.
So we're gonna go May 1st through June 6th. That sounds like a
That's the
plan?
last day of school, right?
I think it is, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so then definitely we'll have plenty of time to
Yeah.
get all that ready, and obviously we can coordinate on, you know, on pushing out, or whoever needs to help on that.
Joel, do we have anything that goes out there, like when the village sends out like the calendar for garbage pickup and that? Is there anything that would go out to everybody in that time period that you can think of that might be one from the village?
Yeah, water bills would be about that. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
water bill is always-
we've done special postcards and things like that too, so it can be done, but
Well, I'm thinking of
Obviously,
the
it's
cost, right?
yeah,
You can include
it's
it
a few-
too.
it'll be a few $1,000s to prepare and post a
Yeah.
postcard to go out to every household in Ashwaubenon.
All right, anything else on it, anybody? Last call, we're gonna do the survey. The survey has changes that we recommended May 1st through June 6th. And we'll get the word out in all kinds of different ways to people and hopefully get lots of feedback and lots of people participating in it. I mean, there's lots of biking groups in the area, there's lots of walking groups in the area. We can get it out to some of them as well and see if they get it to their members too.
Yeah.
And get maybe a little
Do we have
more.
to vote on that?
Pardon?
Do we have to vote on that? or do you-
I don't think so, no.
I wouldn't think so, but.
Okay, anything else, anybody? Comments? Otherwise, we'll move along.
Thank you, Devin.
Yes, thank you,
Appreciate it.
Devin. Said to be considered discuss on a request to install safety improvements for pedestrian crossings along Packerland Drive.
So this is probably a little bit of an unfortunate update. So we were working with AIRS, if everyone's familiar with AIRS, but engineering company in the local area. They do have a transportation engineer, Andy Rawl is his name. Some of you may be familiar with Andy. He's pretty well respected in the transportation realm of things. So Andy had submitted to us kind of a brief concept of what a crossing could look like on Packerland Drive. I think I shared that.
Yep.
Last month at the committee, had an overhead rapid flashing beacon sign, marked crosswalk, with enhanced painting on the roadway. So from a design standpoint, that's probably what would be typically prepared and engineered. So then the question came from Andy, where was this going to be located? And so we had asked about the possibility of either Carroll or West Paulson. And so from there, he had inquired about that from the Brown County, and it doesn't sound like Brown County would necessarily be favorable of putting two rapid flashing beacons at both of those intersections. And it comes down to the question of where does it go? We get back to that question of chicken or the egg. And that's a question that we can't necessarily answer. So what Andy had suggested, and this is what he stated in his email back to us, is what I think should be done is not just look at this location, but meaning either Carroll or West Paulson, but look at the community or neighborhood as a whole, determine locations where critical bike ped connections are missing between the neighborhood, and that may be considered and set a priority of when and how to program and fund and design these. Typically, he would do this as part of an update to a bike and ped plan, which we're in the midst of, that we'll be completing this year. Or we could establish in advance of the bike and ped plan a very distinct and direct conversation about that neighborhood. So it gets back to that point that I think we were trying to make earlier as staff is where does it go? Where does it logically connect to other facilities that may be planned in the area? So since the county is saying you're probably not going to get one at each intersection because that would be disruptive to the flow of traffic, where is the most appropriate location to place it? You as the village have to tell us kind of where we would put it. It can work in either location. What's the preferred location? It's basically the synopsis that we got from Andy. So we could have a workshop where Andy comes in and helps formulate that discussion. We can wait as Devin continues to work through the overall community plan. That's probably the preferred route because now it's taking into account connections from other neighborhoods. If you're just focused on trying to get some type of pedestrian crossing on Packerland, pick an intersection. We'll send Andy on his way, and that's what he'll do. With that, I think Nick and Doug, for some purposes, might have some information or data on either crash volumes or other near misses or anything on that corridor. Or
not much. And actually, this was brought to me by Brian Rickard October of last year. And I was unfamiliar with, I guess, the guidelines or requirements were to have rapid flashing beacon recommended. He said basically the state looks at it as car versus pedestrian crashes, which I look back 20 years, we've had zero, but we've had 34 pedestrian crashes in the village in the last 20 years, 0 on Packerland. So I guess we brought it to the internal village traffic committee, which consists of Brian Rickard, Steve Burr, and then a couple members of public safety. And after kind of discussing it, we felt there wasn't a need, but it sounds like we're way past that point here. So
yeah, it's
I don't know what information I really have that can be helpful.
Policy decision from the board.
Okay.
Just I know that this committee is questioned, and even the board is questioned at times. Well, what's the crash data suggest? Is there a critical area that of need because of safety issues? It didn't sound like there were any crashes to report.
No, there were none. And I used to live in that area on Pole Run up until 2016. We used that sidewalk frequently on Packerland, and there'd be times you have to wait for cars, but I mean, we a little bit and usually cross, but yeah, it's more of a policy issue that they want to address.
So I guess for this committee, where do you want to go? Do you want to, I think you have kind of three options. One, allow Devin and his team to work through the overall plan, and then based on that plan, identify where those where that crossing should be. This committee has looked at other crossings even further south, over by Skylark, I think it was, right?
Skylark is one of, yeah.
So I mean, that obviously is going to tie into the overall plan as well. We could bring Andy in from AIRS and conduct a special kind of workshop to talk very specifically about the neighborhood around Carroll, West Paulson, Babcock, that general neighborhood, and figure out and identify that preferred location. Or C, the committee could just say, we want a crossing somewhere here, and we're going to put it here, which is, in my opinion, probably the least preferred method because it doesn't really use sound logic. You're just kind of picking a location to meet that need. But again, it really should be focused on where are the rest of those connections going to be, and then strategically targeting where those crossings are on Packerland based on those connections.
And, and I totally understand the connections part of it, I get that. But if you look at the two RFBs that are in Cormier, there are no sidewalks going up to either one of them. And, future and putting in the plan, totally get it, to have, but what I don't want to happen is, because we can't put a sidewalk on, let's say Carroll, for the next 20 years, we're not gonna put that crossing in. Because that crossing can be there, and it can be a safe crossing without having all the sidewalks coming to it. Because those are coming from residential neighborhoods that are safe to walk and bike in. And they are being used right now to walk and bike on the road. So that's my fear if we, say, okay, and I know we need eventually, hey, we need to just make this more bikeable and walkable. I totally get that, but I just don't want to put this off because of that, not being able to go ahead with this, because it's important.
Yeah, but do we have to do that if we know, let's say the bike plan says we're gonna put sidewalks here and you probably should go across here, it doesn't mean that
No,
you can't do it anyways.
exactly, right.
Right?
Yes, and that's why I'm saying I don't want to hold this off.
Yeah.
Off because
Yeah, no.
we don't have the sidewalk on there. That's one of my fear, but, and I know we have a couple ladies in here that would like to speak on this. Maybe we could open the floor. Do you guys have anything you want to add? If you want to make a motion to that effect.
I motion open the floor, absolutely.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Hey,
Aye.
Motion carried. Ladies, did you have anything that you wanted to share with the committee?
Well, I'll go first. Matthew, 2831 Timberlane. I feel my neighborhood itself for biking and walking is safe. And with all due respect to the crash statistics, what I would like to know is how many people, say within my neighborhood, don't cross there anymore. Because I don't utilize that trail as much, and it's a shame because I can bike, I can cross at Skylark, I can cross at Carroll, and I can head down to the park out there. I can hook up with our bike trails that we've extended, but getting across Packerland as an adult, that section of the road, especially if you're crossing at Skylark, and I guess I would say I would make a point for two crossings, one at Skylark and one at either Carroll or Paulson. That one is not a big determining factor, but I see a lot of people trying to get across at Skylark, and you've got cars zipping down there, and they just don't slow down. And I feel it's a shame to not be utilizing that traffic, to be using that intersection and that pathway, even if you've got kids that are heading in the opposite direction, because it's a lot safer to cross 172 on that pathway if you're heading across 172 to go to the community center. It's safer crossing on that pathway than it is to try to get across Babcock intersection on a bike or even walking. So I would like to see two, and I think Skylark is a priority, but I'd also like the questionnaire, and I understand you want facts and you want to back it up with statistics and you want to back it up with information, but not so much how many accidents have happened, but how many people aren't using it anymore because they just don't feel safe going across.
Thank you.
Thank you. Barb, anything?
Barb Gomez, 1430 Ponderosa Avenue. When I went around and talked to different neighborhoods last year, a lot of them say, yeah, they don't even bother to go up because it's not safe to cross. They don't feel safe to cross. And I'll admit, when I go with my husband, he's like, oh, let's go. And it's like, no, there's cars that are going like more than 35 miles an hour coming up the street. And I mean, it's a posted speed limit, but we all know they're not going that speed limit. And at certain times of the day, I feel safer crossing, but other times I'm not going to go near that road to kind of cross. And now that you have that super nice park in Waterford, that all those things that you added, and you would want people to be able to come even from the west side of Packerland.
Hobart, they need to build their own.
They have to build their own. park. We just have all these new facilities, and I do like that bike path, but I don't like how I have to get there to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Barb. All right, committee, what are your thoughts on, sounds like a recommendation we mentioned is the
Do we have
three.
to close this first?
Oh, yes, motion to close the,
Yeah, I motion to close.
second. Also, please say aye.
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 One thing I'll just add to the conversation, and we talked about this last month, is the county has to approve the installation of the crossing. So this committee, through its recommendation, ultimately to the board and staff, have to provide a formal recommendation or, advisement to the county as to why it picked that intersection. So the county's gonna want to look at that. They did ask for crash data. We're going to offer zero crash data to them. Why are you picking? I think Skylark is easy because the park is right there. The issue is it Carroll, is it West Paulson, and why? Why are you picking that? The point that, not that we would plan to put sidewalks, let's say, in Carroll in the next 20 years, but in your planning efforts for the bike and ped plan, if you've identified Carroll as that major walkway or that bike route, right, that connects to an existing facility on Hanson, which terminates when it switches over to Carroll, the county may look at that and say, well, why are we putting a crossing at West Paulson when you indicate in your bike and ped plan that Carroll is your route? So that's where
We
the
have to
issue comes
convince
in,
them.
right?
Yeah.
We as staff don't care where it goes. We just want direction so that we can make sure it's sound, that it can be successfully permitted through the county.
I take that path, and I live down in the area going up towards it, and I do think Skylark would be a good choice. It's kind of like a loop if you basically go all the way up Comanche and then cross, get onto it, and then go across. Sometimes we go up to Skylark just because it's a safer way to get there. And I do think that if you try to ask all the neighbors, that's not enough. You'd have to ask everybody in the whole Pioneer District because we all go up that way. So I think you put it at Skylark as a start because that is like an intersection that a lot of people use, and then see what happens. Personally,
I'm gonna just jump in. And I live in that neighborhood too, and it's easy for me to cross at Skylark, but I need to make sure everyone has this information. You're on the corner of Skylark and Packerland. All you need to do is take the trail 1 block south to Wabi, and you literally have a crosswalk.
I think that's what the county's gonna tell us.
You know what I mean? So it is as convenient as this one on Skylark would be. You already have a crosswalk literally a block away.
yep, that's
With
true.
Stoplights.
Absolutely.
So really, if you're looking at only one spot, if that's what, it sounds like that's what Joel was saying, the county only wants one spot.
Well, yeah, let me just clarify.
Okay.
One spot on the north end, so Carroll or West Paulson,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, those are the two intersections as you come off of Comanche there, so it'd be one of those two.
You wouldn't.
Skylark would be different, yeah. You wouldn't want
Close
them to.
together.
Don't get me wrong, people use Skylark all the time.
No, they do.
Yeah, they do,
And there's
so I
signs
get
there,
it, but-
there's signs there right now saying
Yeah.
there's, but
I was probably thinking the same thing you were when you said, I heard the only maybe one. And I'm like, well, okay, at least we know you can get, no, you don't need to bother. We know we can get to the stoplights. But for those people on it, because I'm on that end, right? So it's easy for me, but for the people that are on the north end,
right,
trying to get across,
Right.
and you've got the whole path from McDonald's and all that all the way down,
right.
that's,
Yeah, that
That's a lot more
hotel, that
difficult.
hotel there that people stay at and they're trying to get across to maybe coffee shop or Subway or whatever is on the east side of the road. So to have a crossing on the north part too, I think is
Well,
important.
I even think of that, what's the restaurant, the new one there? I shouldn't say new, it's
Yeah,
never new.
yeah.
Cafe
So
Coke.
popular, so the people in the hotel are trying to get across the
Right.
street to go and eat there. and-
Right.
But they can go back.
That's
I mean,
truck
to
up there,
172.
They're not gonna walk right there.
Ooh, and then come back, you're saying,
But there's no sidewalk on the
The
other side.
problem
of
is,
the
I
road.
don't think they're gonna go either direction. the hotel is almost right across from that Cafe Comfort. They're just gonna walk. I don't think they're gonna go out of their way to get, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough one.
the question is, how are we gonna go about determining? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Where, how we wanna pursue this. We're doing a bike and ped plan right now, which we're gonna look at this area anyway, and we're gonna look at the connections to it, which will be part of the bike and ped plan. Do we want, that'll push it out just a little bit as part of the process? Or do we wanna see if Andy can come in and talk to us about location, specifics, how they design, how they come up with, I mean, this is a unique and a difficult crossing, we've all said that. And my fear from the start is if we do it, we gotta do it right. So there's the RRFPs, which everyone's familiar with. They're the ones you push a button and they blink, 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 and then they hopefully stop the traffic and then keep going. There's a hawk signal. There's a hawk signal on Riverside, which basically stops the traffic. It puts a red light for the cars and then you go across. So is it an RFB? Is it a hawk signal? What is more appropriate? There's a 4-lane road going 35, 30 miles per hour. Maybe not even that, maybe it's 40, 45, whatever. So what's the appropriate thing out there and what's the appropriate signage, markings, and all of that stuff to make sure that is a good safe crossing, or those both are good safe crossings. And maybe one's different than the other because Skylark is closer to Wabi. Then you got, so I don't know. I just think we need someone that has that knowledge and expertise to be able to say, here's what it is, and for us to feel comfortable with that and getting someone with that knowledge to help us make that decision.
It's gonna be hard. I don't know that there's anything perfect, because I've said this before, when I take the grandkids to the title town and you cross from the stadium over, you got them overhead. And we're still in the middle of the intersection and they drive through.
You're right.
So you still gotta look out for yourself. I don't care if they're flashing or not.
You do.
Yeah, and I would need to confirm this, and Andy certainly could. If you did the Hawk system, which is a stop condition now versus a yield condition, I don't believe that you would put those at a controlled intersection. So they would be a mid-block type crossing. The reason for that really creates that challenge condition. So you have, let's say you put it at West Paulson, you have a stop condition for traffic moving westbound from West Paulson, right? So they're stopped, waiting to turn south or north on Packerland.
Yep.
If you put a Hawk system there, basically what the county would likely require is a full signalized intersection at that point. Because you would have turning cars left or right on West Paulson where that crossing. Okay? I think that one that you see in the pier is a mid-block. It's not necessarily right into that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the one in Alloway, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So the county may not approve that, right? So
Right.
there's not a justification for a signaled intersection at either West Paulson or Carroll. So they just FYI on that. And that's why Andy originally, when he had suggested it, if we were going to place anything at the intersection, the rapid flashing beacons would be the recommendation.
Yeah.
That's coming out of the federal highway manual.
Joel, this is probably loaded, but so let's say we did pick up intersection. The county, how quick would they be able to work with us to put something up?
Well, we would do
We
it.
would
So
do that.
They would
Okay.
permit us to do it. It'd be a matter of just making sure that we have the equipment, supplies, and contracts in place.
Okay.
So in theory, if, let's say this were to be approved yet this spring, and the budget was available for it,
Yep,
I'm not
yep,
saying that it is, because it's not technically yet.
Yeah.
But if the budget were available yet this year, it could be done this year. We can get this done really quickly. It's not a complicated engineering design.
Okay.
It just has to be done in season because it will require certain road markings, right? The painting has to be done at a certain period.
The only reason I asked that question is to your question. Do we wait until Devin and we get that information, or do we move forward and pick an intersection?
I guess most throw my 2 cents in.
We'll take it.
From a planning perspective, obviously that's my background.
Yeah.
What we like to do is basically get our plan in place and then go to implementation. So for instance, I'm working on the comprehensive plan right now for the village, which is land use. What we're doing after that is we're jumping into the zoning ordinance, because the zoning ordinance implements the comprehensive plan. In this case, what we're looking at is an actual implementation measure that could come out of the comprehensive plan and maybe help give us some additional information for where that might make the most sense. So again, from a process planning standpoint, I believe it makes the most sense to wait for the plan to get done. So the most information at hand to make a really good decision on implementation.
Yeah.
But again, that's just from my background and 2 years of experience.
And we know Barb's waited so long, so what's another?
I understand that, and I appreciate
Yeah,
their patience on that. Again, that's just my
But I
thoughts on that.
I don't disagree with you. I kind of lean that way.
This is just for Sue and for Barb and the other member here. So this is a picture that Andy had shown. It's hard to see on the screen. So we need to close out some people. But basically what you'd be looking at, because we don't have necessarily sidewalk on both sides of either West Paulson or Carroll, you'd have a singular crossing at one of the legs of the intersection, and then the yield condition would be the sharp teeth that you see on here.
Yep.
And then there's a yield of pedestrian sign here. So as the pedestrian approaches the intersection for the crossing, there would be a button, much like you'd see on a signalized intersection. They click on that. There's yellow flashing beacons at all of the crossing signs here. And then this sign right here, which is hard to see, is the same as this. And it's got that sharp tooth design, several feet, whatever that federal design guideline is, so many feet from the crosswalk. And then the markings that we would propose would be more that ladder crosswalk versus the 2-bar simple crosswalk. That's what Andy had suggested, but it's just a matter of, again, where would that be located? And we think that because there's 4 lanes of traffic without a refuge island, that some type of overhead mast with the light overhead would be required. Just because, as I think we've all kind of experienced on roads like Packerland, but also Holmgren, when you have undivided traffic with no refuge, you may get this car to yield to you, but then if there's a car in the furthest right lane, they may not see that person and yield for that pedestrian.
Would they have approach signs too, Joel, with this? I mean,
Yeah,
we couldn't see it
there would be like warnings,
or like
like crossing ahead
crossing
signs.
ahead or whatever, would be out a little further so people would know. Okay, so what do you think, guys? I mean, the plan will be done by the end of the year. So will it be done in time for budget time? So if we say, okay, we can get this in the budget for 2026 and get this done in 2026.
Well, I think what I would suggest is, regardless of where it is, if the expense for this type of project is going to be comparable, whether it be at Carroll or West Paulson and or Skylark. So if we're looking at, let's say we want a crossing at Skylark and then one more on the north end, to the northern half of that neighborhood, then we budget 2 crossings. Brian's pretty good about, holding a contingency, if you will, for this type of project. So we can budget for it, knowing that this is a project that has priority in 2026, if that's the route we want to go.
Okay, and you, Dale, you make it sound like you would like to do as part of the plan, have it be part of that. I'm
Well,
cool with that too.
My
I
company
think
was data driven, so I have
that's-
to stand.
Yep.
I have to flow that way.
Yep.
So,
Devin knows what he's doing, so we can get some quick feedback on it, the plan as a whole. Sharon, what are your thoughts on it
I don't have any right now.
right now? Sue, anything on your end? No, she's there.
I don't know. I don't. I mean, I think any 3 of them is a good option. I think just pick one. I mean, so I can see the options for one over the other. Carroll, it's really nothing there to cross at that spot. Myself crossing, it makes more sense at by the gas station by West Paulson, because there's 4 roads there. I don't know. But yeah, it's probably better go ahead and put it in the survey, see if anybody else has any other concerns before you make a decision.
I think that pulls the emotion.
True.
Allows the data to drive.
Okay.
And then our emotions will be involved.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna leave this as part of the discussion and part of the bicycle and pedestrian plan. Devin's here, he knows that it's part of it, so he'll be working on that, so, we'll go through the process that way, and then as Joel said, he's very astute in the fact that it doesn't matter where we put it, the price will be the same, whether it's this road, or that road. So if we could budget for 2 crossings in 2026, then in 2026, we can get these second. Have a nice safe crossing from east to west, to east.
Yep.
Okay, and there's no motion necessary, Joel, or did you want anything more informational?
Yep.
Okay. Great, thank you, everybody.
Just a comment to you guys. I mean, I give you a lot of credit because driving this, right? How many years they've been doing it, right? There's a lot of people that won't do that.
Yeah.
Right, that's the input. When you come in with those signatures and things like that, that's the difference between somebody that in the village that really wants to make a change versus somebody who just says something, right? So we appreciate that.
Taking the time, yeah, we appreciate you guys.
And thank you for taking it seriously.
Yeah, of course. Sounds good. Okay, any items for our next agenda? Are we gonna have a meeting, Nate? Oh, that'll be early enough, that won't impact.
If we could take the month
draft
off,
take
I
the
would
month
certainly gladly appreciate it.
Come on.
I don't know if Devin has anything to read from a planning perspective, so I mean, if it's possible to take April off, I think that would be really great for me anyway, but I'm being selfish.
Okay, so we will skip our April meeting and go to May then. I may or may not be here in May, but we'll figure it out. So we'll cancel April and go to May for next meeting. All right, then I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
Sharon's making a motion.
Second by Jill. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.